Good evening and welcome to day 12. It's day 12. We're going to go with day 12 of the International Great Black Read Aloud Day. And we are happy to be here with you on Thriller Day. It is a bit of who done it and a little mystery around it. It's not detective and mysteries, but um, it's Thriller Day. And so we are excited to be here with our reading for today. My name is LD Robinson. I am your reader for day 12. And so before we get started, we want to remind you that you can follow the International Great Black Read Aloud Day on all platforms at Black Read Aloud. And we also want to let you know that we read for educational purposes here at TIGBRAD, as we call it. Um, we want to encourage the exploration, purchase, and reading of books by Black people. And so that is why we're here giving voice to words written by Black people around the world. And we're glad that you have joined us. And so we're going to get right to our reading for today. As we said before, it is Thriller Day. And before we do that, we're going to put up our cover and show you what our selection is for today on Thriller Day. And it is, um, hold on here, got something going on here. We got the wrong thing here going. Oh, sorry about that, y'all. All right, so we got our banner, and then we're going to take away our banner, and then we're going to put up um, our cover. And I know what happened, and I apologize for that. So we're going to do this a different way. I forgot to do something that I was supposed to do, and that's why we're having an issue with our cover. And so we'll come back to that because I need to get that correct because we want to do right by our author. And so our selection for today is All Her Little Secrets, a novel by author Wanda J. Morris. And so we're excited that we are here with that. And so we hope that you will stay tuned in with us as we read. And we're getting ready to read. And so we're going to read three things from this. And it sort of puts it, it doesn't put it all together, but it sort of gives the snippets of what happened. And this is a good story. It's a very interesting story. So you should definitely check it out. It's All Her Little Secrets by Wanda J. Morris. Martha counted the Kotex pads in the bathroom every month. Even though she spent half the day sprawled across the sofa, drunk out of her mind, or just not at home at all, somehow she was always sober enough by the 15th of the month to take inventory of the feminine hygiene products like a pimply faced stock clerk in a drugstore. The first month I missed my period, I took out my daily rations and tossed them into the garbage can in the girls' bathroom at school. But the following month, I was out of school for the summer and completely forgot. I didn't have some grand plan for what I would do. I just tried to wish it all away. I was sitting on the bed reading a book in the small bedroom I shared with Sam at Willie J's house. Sam was outside playing somewhere. It was hot inside the house, but with the roller shade pulled down, the room offered a little relief from the full brunt of the summer heat. A quiet spot where I could perch my nose inside a book and escape this house. His house. I heard Martha's footsteps stumping toward my room. She burst through the door. Are you pregnant? Shock raced through me. I, I, I suddenly realized I had forgotten to take my napkin rations from the bathroom. I didn't know how to answer her. I was too scared. I ask you a question. Answer me. Martha's voice was brittle, like she was on the brink of tears. Before I could utter a word, Martha leapt across the small room and slapped me so hard it made my ears ring. Answer me. Then she started to cry. Why would you do this to me? Martha raised her hand and brought it down in another burning sting across my face. I didn't flinch. She yanked my hair in a tight wad and dragged me out of the bed. The book flew in one direction and Martha dragged me in another. Why would you do this to me? Martha had a way of making me feel like I was the source of all our problems. Now I had given her a reason to justify every ugly thing she always told me I was. Her words finally made sense. Willie J hustled into the bedroom and grabbed Martha before she swung again. Martha, leave the girl alone. His concern caught me off guard, for the way he normally treated me and Sam, his effort to rescue me from Martha's venom, was my second shock of the day. You ruined everything. You ruined everything, she screamed, as Willie J dragged her down the hall to the room they shared. I fell onto the edge of the bed and quietly stared at the chipped polish on my toenails. I heard the door slam, their voices muffled on the other side. Martha was right. Everything would be ruined. All my hard work, the scholarship at Coventry Academy, my lifeline to escape Chillicothe, all of it slipping away from me. I wanted that scholarship so bad that I daydreamed about it all day long. It was the first thing I thought about when I woke up and the last thing on my mind when I drifted off to sleep. And I'd done everything I could to keep anyone from turning down my application once they looked at it. Stellar grades? Check. Impressive recommendations? Check. Financial need? Check, check, check. My teacher, Mrs. Cook, sent the application materials home with a note inviting Martha to come up to the school to discuss it all. I purposely waited for a day when Martha's demons were chasing her to talk about the scholarship. She even passed out while I was talking, so I took matters into my own hands. I filled out all the paperwork myself. I even drafted a note on some of Miss Vera's fancy papers she'd given me, apologizing for not being able to come to the school to discuss the scholarship and signing Martha's name. I wasn't sure whether my handwriting fooled Mrs. Cook. If it didn't, she never let on. Mrs. Cook probably knew what Martha was. Everybody in Chillicothe did. I sat on the bed and tried to tuck my hair back into the ponytail where Martha had ripped it out. I thought about going to Miss Vera's house. The only saving grace about living at Willie J's was the fact that it was close enough to her house that Sam and I could go there as often as we liked. If Martha wasn't in a mood, she would let us spend the night there. Miss Vera's cousin Bertie would bring me Bonnie Bell lip gloss or some musk oil. Miss Vera would make Sam's favorite meal, macaroni and cheese and fried pork chops, and let me paint my nails in her bedroom. But if I went to her house now, she would ask me why I was so upset, and I was too scared to tell her or anyone else. I waited for a few minutes, then I ran through the kitchen and out the back door. The heat outside was stifling. The thick, humid air clung to my clothes, my skin, my lungs. This small, miserable town was suffocating me, pulling its blanket of poverty over me, leaving me to wallow in its dust and heat. Being 14 and pregnant was like a death sentence for a poor black girl in a town like Chillicothe. I ran to the rugged edge of the riverbank that backed up against the house and fell to my knees in tears. What would I do now? The day sat on the edge of dusk, just before the choir of crickets and night owls began. I listened to the soft tumble of water against the edge of the river, its murky green-gray surface like a soft velvet coating. If you sat real still on a calm evening like this, you might spot the thick horny scales of an alligator head slowly floating through the river. I stared into the water until an alligator gently skimmed the surface. I watched it bob and slink across the river, peacefully passing me as every good thing in my life floated away with it. What would I do with a baby? And then we're going to the next one, and we'll read that one. Chillicothe, Georgia, July 1979. Martha had left the house earlier in the day, off to the Blackjack Tavern, or wherever she spent her days when she didn't want to spend them with us. Sam and I sat on the front porch steps. We'd just finished eating fish sticks and pork and beans I'd made for the two of us. I was just weeks away from leaving Chillicothe for boarding school. All I had to do now was survive the last few summer days, and then I would be free of this town. I heard the putter of a car engine and glanced up from the book I was reading. A police cruiser pulled up to Willie J's ranch house in the cul-de-sac. Every time I saw a police car, it rattled me. and set my stomach to churning. Sheriff Kugler stepped out of the car, coughed up a big fat wad of spit onto the ground, and hiked his pants up. The days he'd had plastered his comb over against the thick red skin of his scalp. He waddled up to the porch and rested a thick flat foot on the third step just beneath mine. Wanda J ain't showed up for work in 2 days. Either of you monkeys know anything about it? Sam and I both shook our heads no. Where's your mama? She's not here, I said. Kugler stared at me. Well, where is she? I shrugged. I really was telling the truth. What about it, boy? Where your daddy? Sam scowled up at Kugler. Willie J ain't my daddy. Kugler sneered at me, then gazed up the porch, trying to see through the screen door. So you won't mind if I take a look around? Martha said we can't let nobody in the house when she's not home, I said. Kugler spat again, off to the side of the porch. This is official police business, gal. He removed his foot and climbed the stairs to the front door. I whispered to Sam, go next door and call Miss V. Hurry. As soon as Kugler walked inside the house, Sam took off like a shot. I tried to go back to my book like everything was normal. Kugler's heavy boots slowly moved from room to room. I didn't flinch, but I knew if Sam didn't make it back before Kugler returned to the front porch, he might consider it suspicious enough to put us both in the back seat of the cruiser and off to the police station. I remembered Mario Jackson. I wouldn't let that happen. I knew the only chance we stood of staying alive was to avoid getting into that cruiser in the first place. Hurry, Sam. My edginess turned to panic when I heard the screen door from the kitchen open with a long, slow squeak and quickly slam against the door jamb. Sorry about that, y'all. My edginess turned to panic when I heard the screen door from the kitchen open with a long, slow squeak and quickly slam against the door jamb. Kugler was looking in the back now. Was he looking in the utility shed? All I could think about was Willie J's rule that kids should be seen and not heard. A rule he reinforced by locking us in that shed out back. Cigar burns and threats to throw us in the alligator-laden swamp behind his house. Sam, please hurry. It was quiet now. Kugler was probably headed across the backyard for the shed. I was too scared to leave the porch and peep in the backyard. Excuse me. He would be back inside the house at any minute, and there was no sign of Sam. I didn't want to be alone with Kugler, especially in the police cruiser. Come on, Sam. Finally, I saw a small ball of chugging arms and legs. Sam came sprinting across the cul-de-sac from next door. He ran so fast, his legs reminded me of spinning limbs on one of those cartoon characters on TV. Give me 1 second here. On TV. Only a few seconds more until he made it back to the front porch beside me. I blew a sigh of relief. Sam jumped the small hedges at the edge of the driveway, his eyes full of excitement at having made it back. He crossed the lawn just as Kugler rounded the side of the house. Hey, boy, stop! Sam froze in his tracks. Kugler hustled in and snatched Sam up by the back of his collar. Kugler hustled in and snatched Sam up by the back of his collar, his feet barely touching the ground. I had visions of Mario Jackson and my instincts kicked in. Leave him alone. I dropped my book and raced over to Sam. Get your hands off him, I yelled. I yanked at Kugler's arm, trying to free Sam. Where you run off to, boy? Kugler asked. I just went to look for my ball, that's all. Sam struggled against the man's thick punch. I pulled at Sam's arm, trying to wrestle him away. A few seconds later, Kugler's thick, hard palm slapped me across the face. The hot, stinging force sent me flying backward to the ground. Stay out of this, gal. This between me and the boy. Now tell me where you ran off to. Sam was still squirming, Kugler's strong arm unyielding. I shook the burn from my face and watched as Kugler grabbed a billy club from his waistband. No, I screamed. Kugler threw Sam to the ground. He raised his arm and brought down the club in a quick, hard crack against Sam's head. This time, I jumped to my feet and lunged for the billy club from behind as Kugler pulled back his arm to swing at Sam again. Although I didn't weigh much, I was tall as Kugler. The surprise of my body on top of his caught him off guard. Kugler stumbled. I straddled his back, one hand around his neck and the other trying to keep him from hitting Sam again. He almost had the upper hand. He flung his stick behind his head, narrowly missing my head. He still held a tight grip on Sam. I fought with everything inside me to keep Sam alive. Kugler zigzagged, trying to shake me from his back. I held on, digging my nails into the flabby flesh of his neck. Sam twisted and contorted himself, trying to get free of Kugler's grip. The tables were turning, and now the fat cop was struggling against two squirming bodies instead of one. Sweat poured off Kugler's head, but I ducked his billy club again and leaned in toward him. This time I bit down on his ear so hard I could taste blood and the salt of his sweat. Ah! He screamed. Kugler staggered backward, and I nearly fell off his back. Suddenly, I heard the sound of tires screeching behind me, and then the rusty scrape of a car door swinging open. Hey! A booming voice called out behind us. Kugler, turn those kids loose. Vera. For a second, it felt like the earth was moving beneath us as Vera stormed in. We all froze, me still straddling Kugler's back, and Sam on the ground caught up in the knot of the man's fists. Vera barreled in, first helping Sam from the ground. I jumped off Kugler's back. She pushed the two of us behind her. Have you lost your mind? What are you doing? She yelled. Vera, dressed to the nines in a fire engine red dress, pearls and heels, looked like she was going out for a gala celebration instead of rescuing a couple kids from a backwoods sheriff. This ain't got nothing to do with you, Miss Vera. I'm aiming to find out what they know about Willie J. He ain't been seen for 2 days, and I think them kids might know something about it. With all the people around this town that hate that mean SOB, you may as well arrest half of Chillicothe. I told you, Kugler barked through the panting breath. This here ain't none of your business. These kids are my business. Kugler swiped a hairy arm across his forehead and placed the stick back inside the holster on his belt. He tugged at his ear where I left teeth marks and blood. Like I said, Miss Vera, this don't concern you. Now step aside. I'm going to take these youngins in for questioning. Like hell you will. These kids staying right here. Vera and Kugler stood facing each other. She looked like she could take him out and never get a single wrinkle in her red dress. But Kugler carried a gun and a billy club to make up for the lost dentures. Two giants. Vera broke the impasse. Your wife at home, Kugler? Maybe she might like to hear about that young girl you brought over to my place a couple months ago. What was she, 2, 3 months pregnant? Kugler slowly back from Vera. He blinked a few times before he looked over at me and Sam. You ain't heard the last of me. I'll be back and I'll bring help with me the next time. He shuffled back to his patrol car and threw his weight inside before speeding off on screeching tires. And then we're going to have our last one. And Georgia, July 1979, Chillicothe. I almost never hung out with the kids from school, mostly because I was always too afraid they'd ask me something personal, like why my mother drank all the time, or why she married Willie J, or what it was like to live with someone so mean. But a group of girls from my grade were getting together one Saturday afternoon. One of them lived down the street from Willie J's house, and she insisted I come over. Sorry about that. They were going to, quote, jam, end quote, and listen to records. I decided to go only because it was so hot outside, and I knew she had air conditioning in her house. I had planned to stay for an hour, then make up an excuse and leave. But somehow, while I was there, I was actually having a good time. We giggled and danced, and nobody asked me about Willie J. or Martha. Nobody made me feel bad for not wearing Gloria Vanderbilt jeans or the latest Reeboks. Before I knew it, I'd spent nearly the entire afternoon there. When I realized it, I raced back to Willie J's house to make sure Martha and Sam were okay. Give me 1 second while I finish this, and so that we can get our. Uh, there we go. 1 second here, and I need to make sure I got our cover so that we don't mess up here. All right. All right. When I realized it, I raced back to Willie J's house to make sure Martha and Sam were okay. Willie J's car was nowhere in sight, and I was glad. I stepped inside the hot, empty house and called out for Sam. No answer. Maybe he was out playing with some of the neighborhood kids. I went to the kitchen to make myself a jelly sandwich and noticed Martha sitting on the back porch steps, rocking back and forth and staring off. I watched her from the back door for a moment. Maybe she had been drinking again and her demons were back. Martha? She didn't answer me. I slipped out the screen door and back into the brutal heat. As I walked up beside her, I saw tears rolling down her face and the ugly remnant of Willie J's anger, a purple red knot on the side of her forehead. Willie J had beaten her again. Martha. She still didn't respond. What was there to say? I sat down on the porch beside her. Her body rocked, tears quietly streaking her cheeks. I gently touched her shoulder. You okay? Where's Sam? It was like she was in some sort of shock or something. She shook her leg and cradled herself. Her stare focused on the faded red shed across the yard. I followed her line of sight, and that's when I heard the soft, faint cries. My heart kicked inside my chest. It only took me seconds to realize what was going on. I jumped off the back porch and ran straight to the shed. I pulled the rusty latch open. Sam tumbled out, crying and drenched in sweat. His face was bright red, and his hands were raw and scraped. I lifted his small, soaked body and gathered him to his feet. I couldn't tell where his tears ended and the sweat began. He cried in my arms as we crossed the backyard. I looked at Martha, still on the back stoop, crying and rocking. By the time we reached her on the back porch, I was so angry I wanted to slap her. He told me Sam stole something and needed disciplining, Martha blurted out through tears. He told me as long as he was making noise in there, he was fine. What's wrong with you? It's the middle of July. Come on, Sam, let's get you inside and get some cold water. He told me he would be fine in there, Martha whimpered. And still, she didn't move from the porch. I ignored her as I helped Sam to a kitchen chair. I raced to the sink and poured him a glass of water. I watched him drink it all in one long swallow. I refilled the glass and handed it to him again. I was supposed to leave for boarding school in a month, but Sam wouldn't be safe with Willie J. or Martha. I grabbed Sam by the hand. Come on, let's go. We stepped onto Vera's big wraparound porch, a place that always seemed to beckon people to come inside to laugh, to rest, and to drop their troubles at the door. And no matter what time of day, the smell of something good always floated through the house. Vera was in the kitchen baking when Sam and I arrived. The old box fan was perched on the counter and blew hot air all over the room, failing miserably to cool things down. The only thing that made the space comfortable was Vera's dimpled smile when we stepped inside. Hey, there's my little honey bunnies. Sam sat down in one of the brown cane chairs and started to spin the lazy Susan Vera kept on her kitchen table filled with condiments. I stood beside Sam. Hi, Miss V. Y'all hungry? I got some ham left over. I can make you a couple sandwiches. No, thank you, I said. Vera gazed down at Sam before she flitted a glance at me. He continued spinning the condiments without a word. His eyes were starting to swell from crying, and a few mosquito bites were starting to welt on his face and arms. Sammy, baby, I think I might be able to scrounge up a couple pork chops. What you think? Excuse me. No answer. The lazy Susan spun slowly. Vera eyed me again. I bit my bottom lip. Sammy, you want to go watch some TV? She asked. Sam eased from the chair and sulked into the living room. Vera and I stared at each other and waited until we heard the laugh track of a TV show come alive in the other room. I've never known Sammy to turn down my pork chops, Vera said as she returned to the counter. She began sifting flour. Ellie, come help me with this here pound cake. I walked over and stood beside her. Crack me 6 eggs. I pulled a bowl from the cabinet and opened a carton of eggs. What happened? I was only gone for a few hours. This ain't about you. You can't stand guard 24 hours a day. Just tell me what happened. He locked him in the shed out back and told Martha to only open it if Sam stopped making noise. Vera rested the sifter on the counter and stared out the window. Heavenly Father. Miss B, I don't understand how he can be so mean if he's supposed to be a police officer. I finished cracking the eggs. Sweetie, if I lived 1,000 years, I'd never understand some folks. She went back to her mixing bowl. Sometimes I think Martha hates me and Sam. She's been saying she's not going to let me go away to school. My voice started to crack as I fought back tears. She said she needs me to help her around the house, and she doesn't have the money to send me to Virginia, so I can't go. I already told you. I got that all taken care of. I'll talk to her. Vera's voice of authority soothed me. Why would she marry a man like Willie J? Why would she stay with someone who treats us the way he do? All of us. I hate him. I don't know, sugar. Only the good Lord knows why some folks make the decisions they do and don't say hate. It seems wrong that someone who's supposed to enforce the law doesn't follow the law. What kind of justice is that? Vera lifted the sifter and started preparing the flour. There's different kinds of justice in the world. Willie J. Groover sees justice one way. Some folks see it another. I stared at Vera for a moment, just long enough for the kernel of an idea to sprout. An idea I've been cradling and nursing in my mind since the first time Willie J. touched me. An idea too big and evil for me to utter in words. How can I go to Virginia and leave Sam? I don't think I could concentrate on my schoolwork knowing Sam had to live alone in that house with Martha and Willie J. Vera finished off the flour and clapped the dust from her hands. She turned to face me with one hand on her hip. Listen to me. You getting that scholarship to school is the best thing to come out of Chillicothe since I've been here. And that's a heap of years. If you don't go, you'll let a lot of people down, and most especially, you'll let yourself down. You go on to school, I'll look after Sammy. We both went quiet. The laugh track from the television roared up again through the silence. I finally wrangled up enough courage to ask her about my idea. I edged a bit closer to Vera. Can I ask you something? Sure. Vera picked up the sugar canister and started to measure out another ingredient for the cake. What do you think would happen to Martha and Sam if Willie J wasn't around while I was gone? I noticed a small tick of hesitation in Vera before she poured the last cup of sugar in the bowl with the flour. I suspect Martha and Sammy would get along just fine. What you think? I think they would too. Vera never looked up from the mixing bowl. It might take a lot to get Willie J out of that house, though. Excuse me 1 second. I threw out the eggshells and returned to Vera's side at the counter. I guess it wouldn't be so hard if I had some help. Vera pursed her lips together. I imagine it wouldn't. I handed her the small brown. Vera pursed her lips together. I imagine it wouldn't. Hand me that vanilla extract. I handed her the small brown bottle. We both went quiet again. Vera measured out the liquid into a separate bowl, tapped the measuring spoon against it, and handed the bottle back to me. I suppose everybody could do with a little help now and then. Sam and I stayed at Vera's until nightfall. She made pork chops with macaroni and cheese for Sam, and my favorite, grape Kool-Aid with lemons. I had 2 slices of cake after dinner. I never had cake that tasted so good. This has been our selection today for Thriller Day, day 12. We are doing some back reading today, and it's day 12, Thriller Day, and our selection has been um, All Her Little Secrets from author Wanda J. Morris. And we put up the cover so you can see it. And it's a novel and it's quite a tale. And so it goes back between past and present day. And so we hope that you have enjoyed the reading today. And we'll be back with another reading because we have another day to make up. Excuse me. And so today for Thriller Day has been All Her Little Secrets, a novel by Wanda J. Morris, here for day 12, Thriller Day, the International Great Black Read Aloud Day 2026 edition. We will see you next time. Have a good night. I might have to in the street first.